Have you ever felt?
Are you listening? Damn.
Okay, this fly we did a little while back. It's called the Mohawk Sculpin. It uses a fish skull. But since we got these fish fins in, we wanted to incorporate those into the pattern, and they really make it look cool. So I've got a size 1 Gamakatsu B10S in the vise, and I've got 140 denier Danvilles in brown. So I'm just going to dress that hook down. And basically, I want to kind of leave the front. I want to gauge where this helmet's going to go. So I've already glued the eyes on this helmet, and I'm just going to stick it on there. So it's going to be about like that, roughly. So I guessed right. My thread is right about where the edge of that little curved part of the skull will hit. So this is a really simple fly. The body is just going to be a dubbing loop. You can use chenille. You can use basically whatever you want for the body on this. But I'm going to use olive brown Arizona diamond dub for the body on this. The cool thing about diamond dub is it really doesn't bind down like semi-seal does. So once I have it spun up, I'm going to just wrap forward and make a really nice and thick body. Brush out the body. This is a fly that's going to ride inverted, so hook point up. So brush it down. So now I'm going to tie in the fins for this fly. And you want to tie the fins on a little bit thicker surface or thicker shank than just the hook shank. So I'm going to take a little bit of dubbing and dress the hook shank a little bit. Okay, so these fish fins come in a pack of 6, and a tail and 2 fins are all attached together. And on this fly, I'm not going to use the tail. You can save the tail to use on another fly, or if you save 2 tails, they can double as 2 big old fins. So I've got each fin cut off. And I'm just going to kind of pinch that. I guess I should turn the fly how it's going to ride. So I'm just going to kind of pinch that to the hook shank. And again, before I do this, I want the head to push the fins back just a little bit. So that is going to be about right there. So that's where my fins are going to get tied in. Just with some loose wraps at first, that way you can kind of move them to the angle that you want. And if you squeeze the fins together, you can match up exactly how long the other one is. A couple loose wraps and cinch them down. Alright, now because this is the Mohawk Sculpin and the zonker strip or the pulsator strip that I have is going to get pulled over the whole head, I'm going to glue the head on now. And I've found that if you lay down some dubbing first, it's going to saturate and it's going to adhere the head a lot better. So one thing that I realized is, you know, if you put something in front of the fins, they look a little bit better. So I'm going to take a pinch of Arizona Diamond Dub and just kind of hold it on front of that fin. So you've got a little bit of sparkle and dubbing covering that up. So I'll do that on both sides. Alright, now before I put the head on, I'm going to dub thread and you wrap over it. So the head should kind of fit on there pretty snug right now. Yeah, so that's kind of what you're looking for here. So now that I've tested that, I'm just going to put a quick hand whip finish in this because the whip finish is going to be covered in glue anyway. And I'll take some regular Zap-A-Gap and put kind of a generous amount on there and let it soak into the dubbing. Alright, so we're ready to rock and roll. I've got a pulsator strip. What color is this? Black barred medium brown. Now if you make your tail too long on this fly, it's going to foul up a little bit. So I want to make the tail maybe as long as the whole width of the body. And once I get that measured, I'm just going to impale that onto the hook. Take my hook out of the vise and I'll place it back in like this. Okay, so I've got the fly back in the vise. I'm going to reattach my thread just with a few wraps. And now I'm going to pull that strip over and separate the fibers or the hair where I'm going to tie that in. So right there. And the reason I chose a pulsator strip with this is because that lays right down in between those eyes. And the size of this mask is a size small. So it's not a huge mask. So I'm just going to put a tiny dab of super glue right down the middle of the head. Barely visible. So I'll lay that down there. Take my thread and tie that off. And you just need a few snug wraps here because that super glue is really holding that in place. Now you don't have to do this, but I do. But I like to take a razor now and just come and trim that off as close to the thread as possible, which I didn't do a very good job of. And now just whip finish it. And we'll just add some head cement to the thread just so it doesn't unravel. Anyway, that's the Mohawk Sculpin, the version 2 with fins. But you can see that profile is just really nice. I mean, the fins stick out, they flap back when you're stripping it. Killer little sculpin pattern, tied in a bunch of colors. Let us know if it works for you.